What's up, guys? AMM here. First video in a while here on YouTube. I'm actually going to explore a little bit with a card game that I've had for a while. Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, Wrath of the Righteous. It's pretty good, either single player or co-op game. Seems like a lot of fun. You're not really going against another player. Each set has different, these are scenario cards that you can play, or they have campaign, which has adventure paths and separate scenarios. I'm going to play a standalone scenario. Let me remind you, I am a new player. So if there's any mistakes that I make during this, please let me know. But anyway, how it works, I have a set hand here. Well, I did right here of my deck that actually the rule book says that, hey, this is a pretty good deck to play. And I've chosen character close to my name, Elaine, which mine's Alan. This is his token. This is where you put at different locations, what I'll get into. This is his card. It says, okay, there's different checks you have to make with different dice, either the D10s, the D4s, the D8s, the D6s. This tells you which ones you get to roll with for that certain skill. This has my powers, and it has my all-important hand size, which is 4. I can only have 4 cards in my deck. Now, each scenario has different locations. This scenario, since I'm going to play one player, it has 3 locations. So you see one player, Dark Forest, Watchtower, and the Wounded Lands. It's called the Elven Entanglement. Now, during this scenario, I'll read it to you because it might be hard to read on there. Instead of your first exploration on turn, you may summon and encounter the henchman Fiendish Tree. If you defeat it, draw the cohort vents from the box. Which that could possibly help. Sorry if you hear my birds in the background. They're freaking annoying. But that could help in a certain way. I forgot to get that one out of the box. But, I'm going to get that one out of the box real quick. Hold on just a second for me. I'm actually going to change something else. And it says the henchman Fiendish Tree, which I'm going to get out of my box here real quick. So just give me a second, because an extra cohort, which is like your buddy, your favorite special friend. Get my box open. Shut it. Give me just a second. Sorry. But anyway, now this is just a base game. I'm not going to play with any of the extras. The level 1 cards. I'm just playing with the B cards. So, henchman here. Now, the henchman in this scenario that I'll be going against is the Vescavor Swarm and Tangle Traps. There's 3 of them, 1 Vescar Swarm and 2 Tangle Traps, which have been separated randomly into the location decks, which I'll get into. Now I'm looking for Fiendish Tree, which, before I explore on my first turn, I could possibly go against this guy and earn an extra cohort. Now, which Fiat tree? Here he is. Pretty cool. I like how the artwork and all the different things on these cards. The bottom pretty much shows his power. Now he is a monster. My check to defeat is 13. Combat. Now, that's just combat. It's not strength. It's not melee. So I would only roll a d10. So it's going to be pretty hard to beat him with this character. Now, what I could do is, when I draw my cards, if I have a certain skill, which I'm going to draw my cards right now. I drew first a weapon, longsword, which I'll talk about these in a minute. I draw an ally, which they all have certain sort of powers. Now, I got Donahan, my cohort that's actually in my deck. Some do, some don't. And then I also have my long spear weapon. You're only allowed to use one of these cards on a turn. Now, my longsword, for your combat check, reveal this card to use a strength or melee skill plus 1d8. So I could possibly have 18 here. Now, you may additionally discard this card to add another 1d6. So that's going to give me a possibility to roll in maybe a 24, which is only 13 to get him. So I'm going to look at the cohort. Vinced, when you attempt, this is Vinced. He's a cohort that I could actually earn by defeating this henchman right off the bat. It says, when you attempt to close a location, return this card to the box to automatically close it. Bury this card to search your deck or discard pile for an ally that has the animal trait, and add it to your hand. So apparently with this card, I attempt to close a location, return this card to the box to automatically close it. So this would actually, this cohort, Vinced, right here, would actually be a very good card. I mean, if I'm having trouble with a location, he might be able to help me, because he can automatically close a location. Now, they have this one, like I showed you about the scenarios, has 3 separate locations. This one, the Dark Forest. I don't know if you can read that. It shows me my deck list and what each card has. Go. Sorry, my birds. The Dark Forest right here. Like I said, don't know if you can read that. But it has 2 monsters, 1 barrier, 1 weapon, 1 spell, 1 armor, 1 item, 1 ally, and 1 blessing in this one deck. Now I'm going to kill these birds. I'm just playing. I'm not going to kill them. But so there's 3 locations. So each one of these have, the one henchman, like I talked about. Always trying to fly away from me too when I try to put them in their cage. But each one has that one henchman, like I talked about before. And then it has these cards that are in this deck list here. This middle pile right here is our blessing deck. These have certain different types of, I'm just going to turn this, it's not going to do anything. Blessing of Ascension that has certain blessings that can help you in your hand. I might have some in my hand, and there might be some in here. Like this one has 1, that one doesn't have any, and this one doesn't have any. So there's really 1 in just the location decks. But this actually counts as the turn timer. If this runs out and all the locations aren't closed, I lose the game. Usually there's a discard pile here, but since we're limited on space on the table, I'm going to just leave it here, and I'm going to discard up here. So whenever I start a turn, I flip one over, and this is turn 1. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I flipped one over. This is what you're supposed to do at the beginning of your hand. You flip from the blessing deck. I got my 4 cards here. I have my token, my character token. I'm going to put him at a certain one. I'm just going to put him at the Dark Forest here. Now I'm going to go ahead. I could try to beat this monster. Which, let's do that. Let's do that right off the bat here and try to beat a monster. I want to encounter a henchman, which is going to help show you the different checks and everything that needs to beat the monster. Now I have no room to roll my dice, but I'm going to get the certain dice out. I should have this done earlier, but it's trying to get the game set up. It takes a minute. These are all mythical charges. I don't know if I'll need them. Each character draws a random weapon or spell in the box. That's if you win it. That's if you go on to play another scenario after this. That's the reward for that scenario. Now, since we are going to play Henchman right here, Findish Tree. If I beat him, I get my cohort Vince, who can automatically close a deck, which I might use him right away. So, those two are what's up for grabs. Now, to beat the Findish Tree, it says check to defeat combat 13. So I have to get 13 with my strength skill, which is right here. It says a D10. Now, if it had melee on there too, to defeat, check to defeat, I would get a +2, but it doesn't. So I just have 10. So I have my D10 here. So I'm going to leave that there. Before I play, I'm going to use my long spear. What this does, for your combat check, reveal this card to use your strength or melee skill plus 1d8. Now, I pretty much just shuffle this. If it doesn't, I don't want to discard it yet, I can shuffle this back into my deck. But I could, if I don't beat it, if I fail the check with my D10 and my D8, which is right here, then I can discard it and I'll get to re-roll the dice and take the second result. So it's not adding the dice, but I get to re-roll the 1d8 and see what happens. Now, in certain scenarios, I wouldn't do that. Like if I only got 4 or something on this one, there's no way I could possibly beat him with a 13 because I need an 8. So I wouldn't discard it. But I'm going to try this. I'm going to play this card right here. I'm going to roll my D10 and D8 here. Not sure where to roll them. I have a 5 and a 4. 5 is on my D10. Now I could discard it right now and have a chance and maybe roll an 8. If I rolled an 8 on this, I would defeat him and add him in my hand. So this is a hard challenge. Do I want to discard this, which could actually help me later, and try to re-roll that? Wait, I used my longsword. I should have used my long spear or long sword instead of my long spear. Because if I failed it, I could add another d6, which is would have helped, but maybe. Well, I would only need a 4th or a 6. I would have got that. But anyway, I'm just going to take the defeat. I got a 5 and a 4. I believe that's what I said. So I'm going to put Findish Tree up here. Now, his combat to defeat was 13. I only got 9. That's a 4-point difference. I have to discard 4 of my cards from my hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to draw my next deck card, which is a riding horse. Now, another way to close the game, if you run out of cards in your deck, you lose. That's pretty much it. Or if the blessing timer runs out. So I didn't even explore the land there. I didn't do anything. I didn't even explore the deck. So we will keep him in my Vinced. Okay, and I'm going to put him back in my deck somewhere. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the blessing deck. And I'm going to explore this location. There's Banes and Boons. There's either, you can get your allies, your items, or you got your monsters. Now, it's not going to do any damage to me if I don't acquire this card. Or I can just say, no, I don't want to acquire it and move on to the next one. But since I had to discard 4 cards from the attack from the finished tree, this wouldn't be a bad ad. Mendevian Crusader, discard this card to reduce damage dealt before you act to a character at your location to 0. So if I was taking on a monster or a henchman, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to play this card. And I will, like if I'm low on cards, I can then, reduce my damage to 0. Or I can discard the card to explore the location, turn in this exploration, add 1 to your combat checks. So I'm going to go ahead and try to acquire this, which is Divine 9 or Charisma Diplomacy 6. I don't have Divine on here, so I have Charisma Diplomacy, which is a D8. It's a D8, and then I have Charisma as well, so I get +3 added on to my check. So I have my D8 here. Now, if I beat this guy, if I get the 6 to acquire him, which is really going to be anything 3 or above, I will acquire him and put him in my deck. If I don't acquire him, he will be discarded, and we will move on. 8. So that's 11. So that's plenty enough to acquire our dude here. We're going to put him randomly in the deck. And then if I have to draw these, if I have to draw any in my hand, what I like to do is shuffle my hand anyway. So I'm going to flip the Blessings deck. Birds drive me fucking nuts. Now we have another item. So no monsters yet, which is good. We can keep building our deck. Intelligence, Craft 4. Potion of Beast Skin. Display this card and choose a character at your location. While displayed, reduce combat damage dealt to that character by 2. At the end of this turn, banish the card. So it doesn't go in my deck if I use it. I have to banish it, and it will not be able to use the rest of the time. Now the check to acquire there, Intelligence, Craft 4. My Intelligence is a D6. Like I said, I'm trying to build my deck. I'm not just going to, banish the cards because I'm trying to build it because I just took 4 cards away. So I have to get a 4 right now, and guess what? Craft, or Intelligence, is a D6. And I got a 5, so I'm going to put him in my hand. So that's good. We're off to a better start. Now I got another one, an armor. This is great because I'm going to turn my Blessings deck because I almost forgot. Armor is good. Magic Shield right here. Looks like the check to acquire is a Constitution or Fortitude 6. Now if you had Constitution and Fortitude, you can add both of the dice together to get your check. This one I just have Constitution, which if you see on here, Constitution is a D8, which is great. I have to get a 6 to get this. Now if I got the Magic Shield, if you played a weapon that has the 2-handed trait on this check, you may not play this card. Reveal this card. Now if you don't have a 2-handed trait, reveal this card to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 2. If proficient with light armors, you may play another armor on this check. So in this case, with this Magic Shield right here, usually it only lets you use 1 item. If I have a light armor that I already played, I can use the Magic Shield as well. You may recharge this card when you reset your hand. So we're gonna, like I said, check to acquire it, which would be a Constitution, which is D8, which is this right here. 1. I don't get it. It is now banished from the game, which is good. I mean, it's good that it doesn't have to attack me or anything, because that would have taken 5 cards. Now I'm gonna stay at this location. Scorching Ray. We got another spell. Here we go. Intelligence Arcane 6, which is a D6. For your combat check, discard this card to use your arcane skill, plus 2d6. What's an arcane? I don't even have arcane skill, so I'm not even going to attempt this. I don't. Did I flip the blessing deck? I think so. See, this one, the Scorching Ray, I don't even have the arcane skill. Usually that's for a magic. This is more of a. I don't even know how you want to. He's a cavalier. He's not a magic guy. He's like a, cavalry guy. So I'm just going to banish this card. I'm not even going to worry about trying to acquire it. It's not going to do me any good other than, I could. But let's advance to this. Blessings that and now any of my turns, I can relocate. But I think we're doing pretty good here. Yes, look, a blessing. Blessing of Ascension, one of the blessings in this deck that I can go for. But man, we've had 2 monsters. There's still in there somewhere a barrier, maybe a weapon. So, if you encounter this card and you have a mythic charge, you automatically acquire it, which we don't have mythic charges. It's just a standalone scenario. Now I can add 1 die to any check. That's great. Discard this card to explore a location, or discard the card to get a mythic charge. Now I only need a Charisma 6. I have, like it shows on my card here, Charisma, Diplomacy, Charisma plus 3. It's a D8 plus 3. So I'm definitely going to try to acquire this, and hopefully I get 2 or above. And I got a 3, barely, so we're going to acquire this card. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to flip the Blessings deck, and I'm going to move. Because we know there is still a henchman and a couple weapons in this dark forest that, I kind of just want to build my deck a little bit. I'm going to move over here to the Watchtower. And we don't encounter a monster or a henchman like I was planning here, hopefully for this move, but we have a short bow. It takes dexterity or ranged 3. My dexterity is, if you look here, is only a D4. So really, it's going to be hard to get this one. The short bow has powers for your combat check. Fill this card to use your dexterity or range skill plus 1d6. Proficient with weapons, discard this card to add 1d4 to a combat check by a character at another location, which that's not going to do me any good. Now, if I could just reveal this card to use your dexterity or range skill 1d6, that would be nice to have. I'm going to try it. And must still be in the bag. So I do not see a D4. Strange looking die with 3 different numbers on each side. The one with the number on the bottom when the die stops is what it is. Now I would have loved to have taken that roll right there because I would have acquired it. But since I'm not that way, let's try again. 1. Didn't acquire it. We're going to banish it. So we will turn the Blessings deck, and here we go. We got an ally. Mendivan Crusader. I think we already have this ally. Or we banished him, one of the 2. Discard this card to reduce damage dealt. Okay. So this is another good one to use for monsters or henchmen. Now it's going to say Divine 9 or Charisma Diplomacy 6. Which I have like I said, Charisma, Diplomacy 8, a D8 plus 3. So we're going to definitely try to acquire this one. It'd be nice to have 2 of them. 4 plus 3 is 7. We will put this in our deck. Trust me, this game is going a lot better than it did last night. I played a little test game and did not go well. So I'm going to flip the Blessings deck, and I'm going to continue here, and I got an ally. This is good. We're not running into, like, right at the beginning of yesterday's game that I played. I played a different scenario, but all the monsters and the henchmen like showed up in the first couple of hands. And the weapons and the items and the armor and the blessings that did show up, I never acquired them. Because that's my checks weren't good enough. So this one, Teamster, Constitution, Fortitude is a 7, or Charisma, Diplomacy 6, which my Charisma once again is a D8 plus a 3. So I'm going to go with that. Now, if it has, instead of saying or right there, you see or over there on the right between the 7 and the Charisma. It might say then, so you have to beat both of those checks to get it. This one, I am going to choose Charisma Diplomacy. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I keep screwing it up. But it's a D8 plus 3, 6 to get him. 7 plus 3 is 10, which would acquire him. Randomly put him in my thing, and I'm just going to shuffle my cards just because. I haven't used any items, cohorts, anything like that recently. So my deck is getting, quite nice. We're going to flip the Blessings deck. Now, Wooden Shield, we got more armor. Check to acquire, Constitution, Fortitude, D4. My Constitution, as you see on here, is a D8. Okay. So I'm going to roll my D8, trying to get my Wooden Shield, and it's an 8. So I will have my Wooden Shield. I hope I'm doing this right. I don't look like an idiot. Now look at this thing. At this location, you may summon and defeat a random monster instead of the normal check to acquire a boon. I wouldn't want to do that. Now, when I close, I have to banish one of my weapons out of my hand, which that might suck. But draw a random weapon from the box. So if this is closed and it's out of cards, then I have to discard one when I close it. It's permanently closed. I don't know the difference. Random weapon from the box. So okay. I can do that. Turn my Blessings deck. Flip my card. And I have armor. Magic Scale Mail. Reduce this card to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 2 or by 3 if the damage is dealt to you before or after you act. Banish this card to reduce all damage dealt to you to 0. If proficient with heavy armors, bury it instead. Now, between banishing it would mean if I was playing multiple scenarios, if I banished the card, I would not be able to use it again this whole campaign. Burying it will only let me use it in this scenario, so I would be able to reset my hand at the beginning of this scenario. Which Constitution, Fortitude 5, it's a D8, like I said, my Constitution, and it's a 3, so we're just going to banish it. Let's try it again. I might move one more location, actually. Short bow. So nice. I think we ran into this one before. I think it was 2 weapons on this one, and they're both short bows. Dexterity range 3. And we already said, reveal this card to use your dexterity or range plus a 1d6. So I'm going to roll my D4. I have to get a 3 to get it, and it's 2, so we're going to manage it. Now, I'm going to do the same strategy I did before. There's 2 monsters and a henchman still left in this deck. There's 4 cards, so I have a 3 out of 4 chance I'm going to have to encounter someone. So I'm going to turn my Blessings deck, and I'm going to move. Wounded Lands, here we come. Hope I get enough strength to power on here. I don't know what these are. Armor, and ally. I don't know what they are. Oh, that's my discards. Okay. Which I didn't lose a whole lot, so I flipped the blessings deck. I'm going to flip this card, which now we have a weapon. So this little moving around little strategy that I'm doing is working pretty well for me. Heavy pick weapon. For your combat check, reveal this card. Use your strength or melee skill plus 1d6. So I would have a d10 and a d6. Check to acquire would be 6. So what I'm going to do here, strength, melee, strength d10 plus 2. So I get to roll my d10, which is nice, plus 2 added on to this. It's a 5 plus 2 is a 7. Man, I get to add the heavy pick into my hand. Pretty freaking stoked. Pretty freaking stoked, man. Okay. Flip the blessing stick, and we will continue to a barrier. I've never ran into a barrier yet. The difficulty defeat is increased by the scenario's adventure deck number, which the scenario adventure deck number is B. Okay. If undefeated, discard the top card of your deck. Each character of this location is dealt 2 damage, 2d4 fire damage, then banish the card. Okay, this one might hurt. Intelligence Arcane, which I have a d6. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. We'll talk about this explosion. Okay. Now, here is the thing. I could use my longsword. And to beat this, I need Intelligence Arcane 8, which would be a d6, or Dexterity Acrobatics 10, which would be a d4. So I'm going to go with the Intelligence Arcane, which is my d8. Now, for your combat check, reveal this card to use your strength or melee skill plus 1d8. So I'm going to roll this twice to beat my 10, because I'm going to use my longsword. Because if I lose to this, discard the top card of my deck, which would be the top card of my deck, and then dealt 2d4 fire damage. So I would have to roll this twice, and heck, if I get 4 and 4, that's 8. I'd have to discard 8 of my cards. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to roll my, what are we doing? D8, sorry. Constitution, or Intelligence, actually, which is a D6. Dang it. So I get a 6 and a D8. And a D6 if I need it. So I got my 6. It's a 1. Not good. Now I got to roll my D8. I need a 10. I'm going to have to probably, or an 8 I need. So I need a 7 on this one, or I'm going to have to discard it and add another D6. 3. So that's 4. I'm going to go ahead and discard this card right here. Actually, it doesn't go down there. It goes up here. Oh, my baby. And my baby's starting to cry. So now I'm going to have to pause. Okay. Now, I discarded that card, so I get to add another D6. I have 4 right now. I need a 4 to defeat it. And I got a 6. Yes. That is great. Okay. And this is gone. Bam. Just like that. So we took one of our cards. We used it. I'm going to draw one more ally here. Or one more card out of my deck. And that is how part 1 of my video is going to get underway, since my beautiful, loving baby daughter, sound kind of weird, beautiful, loving baby daughter is starting to fuss, and she's probably hungry. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed, and we will be back for part 2 shortly. Thank you.